So agreeing with mostly with what has been said here, I would just like to add one idea for what we could do next year, namely the form in which we present messages about linguistics to the public is important. And I believe that we partially need to unlearn what we have learned in academia in terms of terminology and paying attention to the complexity of our ideas and messages. So, because when we communicate to the public, we need to do it without jargon and deliver relatively simple messages, although we do, of course, realize the complexity behind them. So both when talking to the kids and parents about bi or multilingualism, and when talking to politicians and giving them advice on what could be done in a specific urgent situation like the one that we faced with Ukrainian kids in Polish schools. So I believe we could have a workshop on talking to non-specialists, on expressing our messages in simple terms, appropriate terms, and attractive form, so that later on during the year we can react to urgent matters in respective countries. Thanks.
Is there anybody who would disagree? I find this a valuable addition, by the way. So, yeah? Others, Ferdinand?
Well, it's not disagreement, but maybe an additional thought, because one of the questions that you raised in the beginning was also to what extent are we going, or does it make sense if we go into lobbying? And this is a question that isn't exactly sort of the same question as those that have been raised so far, but they may be related. My impression, or the one thought I had, is that my impression is that the EU politics about, or the EU language politics, it encourages a certain type of multilingualism in that they encourage people to learn different languages, and they it basically focuses on national languages, or on languages of acknowledged as official languages of the European Union. And everyone who does sociolinguistics, or everyone who works with small communities, also everyone who has a political awareness about sort of disadvantaged communities, sort of knows that it's basically not only about promoting different national languages or many national languages, but that it's exactly that we need to go below the level of national linguistic practices. In my personal view, and that's at the moment it's just my personal view, this is one of the most important messages that linguistics as a whole has to contribute and also has to communicate to the public, because it addresses a very huge topic that has to do with social cohesion, with overcoming social injustice and other very, very crucial topics. I thought it would be a very valuable thing if the SLA as a community thinks about engaging in that direction, but I also know that it's a big thing and that it's not easy. I just wanted to share this thought that we should be mindful that multilingualism isn't automatically multilingualism, and we should have an idea. We should have an idea of what exactly we want to achieve when we.
There's also an administrative thing that I would like to add to that, but Christian has already had his finger up for quite a while.
Sorry, mine was I wanted to add precisely about the school diversity at schools. So. I think the issue is not only with the foreign languages, and I come from the Basque Country, and we are like very proud of our language recovery things, and we found schools here and there and in France. But then you ask even the most nationalist Basque person about Erro Minchela, which is a Basque Romani Creole, and we've almost let that language die, even though we've been like really for supporting the language diversity in the Basque Country. So, and I think it is. with Romani and Roma communities, it is quite true in many European countries that we keep marginalizing these communities. And it's not only about being a foreign, but it's also about social class and racial issues that are, in our communities.
I see Eva nodding. Would you want to add something, or? Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Ari, for this initiative. And I completely agree. Yeah, it is, when we talk about multilingualism, sort of lobbying for multilingualism, it would have to be multi-repertoire,
Register.
Multi-register, getting away from the idea or promoting the idea that not just a language that can be written or that is being written is a valuable functioning language, promoting sign language, all these things, sign languages, all these things. I have 2 concrete suggestions that I haven't thought through, just to for discussion. One actually I made before at the EC, and that's to have an SLE award for an outreach initiative. I think the question would be how to advertise it so people actually know they can apply for it. And the second suggestion, and that just came to me when you mentioned a blog, Ari, and said, oh, but it really would have to be on the level of national languages, not at the SLE level. But actually we have AI now, so TripAdvisor can translate into 15 languages. Why couldn't we have a blog that it would need editing? So
it would need editing, but
it could be automatically translated as a first go, and then we could advertise for volunteers who get 3 years of SLE membership plus a very reduced conference fee for 1 year or something, who do some editing.
Yeah. I see Magda typing and I'm also taking a few notes. At least I'm very daunted at the idea of getting anything into schools. I mean, I'm here today because I had a teacher at school, a French teacher who had done linguistics and who sneaked in a bit of linguistics. I think I was probably the only person in class who was interested in that part of what he had to say. But also, there's all the bureaucrats and ministries and sometimes sub-national level, like in Germany, you'd have to convince all the Länder to. But we could be a hub, certainly, for people who are lobbying to see a manifesto that they could use. Maybe that would be a start. Thanks. Yeah, good idea. Yeah. Let me just quickly. Anybody on the issue of multilingualism and relating it to the EU in particular? I'm not that pessimistic in the long run about the possibility of convincing certain people that might be a good perspective through, as part of, or maybe even indeed the primary part of getting linguistics into general education, that kind of awareness. But like many other things, all projects, all changes at the European level go very slowly. And it takes you to, there's a really long-term project, and you have to start not with the politicians who are deriving their power from their national political situation, but with the officials in Brussels and some other places to get things on the agenda that are ultimately European successful. But it is true that is in various domains of life and social structure and policy have been a major instrument. Europe has been a major instrument in changing national curricula and national policies and frameworks. I wouldn't drop it
for the reason that at present, when European officials and politicians think about multilingualism, they think about multiple national languages as a tool to get students moving through Europe. But it'll take time, and we have to be careful how to, and very strategically target the right people to begin with to do that. But then I'm not pessimistic about the possibilities of, in the end, achieving serious results throughout Europe. That would be a task for an organization like SLE to provide the continuity with the changing of the board and the executive committee personnel to nevertheless keep that going, such projects. Yeah. Is it a sort of consensus that multilingualism indeed would be the primary, one of the most important topics, an entry point, so to speak, for us to promote and do outreach and linguistics communication? Is there anybody who would think, no, we should really be doing something else? Okay, go. Where's the mobile? Microphone.
Thank you very much. I was just thinking that since already mentioned, Bilingualism Matters has such huge experience with issues we have been discussing here, like reaching out to parents and teachers and children, among other things, right? So maybe we should, as an SLE, get more friendly with BM. That was my idea. How? Well, we could have a special session for Bilingualism Matters as SLE conferences, if Bilingualism Matters want it, right? I mean, it's spontaneous, right? I'm looking at my friends here, right? Because we are engaged here for many years already, right? But what I want to say is that there's such a huge experience that people in Bilingualism Matters already have, right? Which we could use, right? So that we don't need to, devise new methods if they're already there, right? And huge experience that's already there, right? So this is one remark. And I have another which is not connected with multilingualism, but which I forgot to mention in my few thoughts, namely that gender equality plans, which originated again in Europe, right, and which are now an obligation of any university which wants its researchers to get any European money, right? So even if you do not believe in gender equality, you still need to have gender equality plan, right? So what I want to say is that once we prepared gender equality plan for AMU, for Adam Mickiewicz University, we stressed language so much, right? So this is a different aspect now, right? Gender equality in language, via language. But we've done quite a lot, I think, right? Using research that's done by people, right? And researchers, linguists, sociolinguists, but also in other areas outside of linguistics, to popularize the type of language we should use to keep up gender equality, right? So this is also a very good channel, so to say, right? Because we all have it, right? We all have gender equality plans at our universities. So to make it obvious to people how to make it real, right? How to make gender equality real, it's via language, right? So that was another thought that I just didn't mention before. Thank you.
Thank you. Eva?
Oh, just on the previous point of multilingualism, I'm not against it. I think it could be a bit broader than that. So more like language diversity, language appreciation, like Christian said, sort of making people think about how many forms a verb can have in their language, and then and actually it's many more than English, or whatever.
Ultimately, linguistic awareness is a sort
languages,
of is sort of in a way formulates. I now realize, so it's my most fundamental motivation for starting all this, of the frustration with all the misconceptions out there among the people who use the language all the time. But there's an interesting sort of paradox in the phenomenon that languages are very human, but most humans have all kinds of misconceptions and lack of awareness about this. Like a fish having all kind of misconceptions about the water that it lives in. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello. I also want to say that although I am not even a member of SLE and I would like to be a member, I am Spiridoula Varlocosta, Professor of Linguistics and Psycholinguistics at the University of Athens. I am the director of the Psycholinguistics and Neurolinguistics Lab and the chair of the Linguistics Department. So I agree with multilingualism and bilingualism. In fact, we are in touch with Antonella to get a branch here in Athens. So we are looking forward to it. But I also agree that it should be a broader issue about linguistics. The outrage should be about linguistics, misconceptions that there are about languages and superior and inferior languages. For example, a lot of people in Greece think that Greek is like this super language, the language, the mother of all languages, which is not true. It's another nice language as other languages in the world. So I think that it should be that there should be multiple objections and multiple aims, and definitely sign language, because also there are misconceptions about sign language, whether sign languages are languages. So I would like to be involved in all this, because every year since 2019, I participate with my team and lab in the Researchers' Night, which is hosted by the Polytechnic University in Athens. And the whole aim is to basically do this outreach, to communicate science. And we try with my team to communicate linguistics.
Welcome to the club. Anya, and then Christian and Mortal. But Anya was first, at least in my perception.
Yes, to go back to the idea of having a conference or a semi-conference, what we could do for next year we could maybe have a sort of a call for a special workshop, block 1 session for, I don't know, linguistics, language diversity and outreach or something like that. Maybe if Ari, since you came up with this idea, if you could write like a short proposal, we could post it on the website and people could submit
after consultation with the local organizers in Helsinki.
Well, it would be like a workshop, sort of.
Okay.
It just would be accepted automatically. So a bit of cheating. And people could submit their proposals to it. Right. And I think that would show also our position and our ideas, because I'm a little bit disappointed that we're with so very few people here. So maybe we should take a quite visible stand on it.
Okay. Noted. At the back. Your third, Christian.
Yes, hello. First of all, I second this view on Greece. Being half Greek myself, I often have to try to convince people that Greek came from Indo-European and not vice versa. Often not to much avail. But I also came late, so you guys might have mentioned this, but I think also collaboration with people outside of linguistics, people who are skilled at communication to the media, is key. And what I mean specifically is using social media. I think, having, let's say, a YouTube channel or people who can make short documentary movies, and that can give this general information. At the end of the day, this is the age of information. A lot of people do get their information through this, and you have some kind of amateur linguists posting things, often quite well. But I feel like it wouldn't be a bad idea to collaborate with people like this and have like maybe an SLE YouTube channel, or people who can make short clips that give brief introductions, some interesting facts, which are enticing and which are nowadays the way that people are drawn into many things. So just a little suggestion.
Yeah. Bruce, suggestion. Now, Christian here at the front. And then we are wrapping up.
My suggestion was actually related to that. I had two ideas more or less together. So one would be, given that we are very diverse as a linguist, gathering different types of linguists and making a short YouTube mini documentary where we show what is a linguist. And then some of us work at hospitals with like aphasia, others work with children in kindergartens, others are on the bush full of mud. And so kind of giving people a wider idea of what linguistics is would be cool. And also I'm thinking, just to save a bit of money, and actually it would make us a favor, partnering with, like, as SLE, like, that has a bit of authority, approaching journalists. I'm thinking specifically Euronews. It's often doing really cool documentaries about different things, and Euronews is really good in the sense that it is quite popular in many European countries, and they translate themselves. A lot of the documentaries they do. So if we could, as SLE, approach Euronews, for example, with coming up with an idea of, you know, it's the International Day of Mother Tongue, so let's do something specific for like a day like that. We could reach to a wider audience. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Thank you very much. Even though the audience is not that large, it's sort of the size that I was personally anticipating, and the diversity of views, but especially the amount of information and ideas that has come up over this hour and a half. Has, at least that's my feeling at this point in time, convinced me that the answer to the question, should the SLE be doing something in this domain, is definitely positive. And we have the idea that we could involve many more people in a more structured, if you do this more structuredly. So this would be, can maybe then count as a beginning of a systematic activity and undertaking of SLE in this domain, and not the end of a wild idea that turned out to have no real future and no support in the community, no basis in the community. So I conclude conversely, and I have all kinds of ideas of how to go about both starting some specific initiatives, like actually we were in the process of opening up an SLE YouTube channel, and a couple of other things are possible to start doing, to making things public, like a webpage that shares the information much more widely that was presented here in this last hour and a half, and then continuing thinking about these discussions and setting up plans further in the future. So thank you all very much for your contributions. This has been so far not a lifelong, but a career-long point that I've been trying to promote, and I've sort of abused my present position to get it done, get more of it done at this stage, and I'm sort of happy to, or actually really happy to see that there's some promising in the future. So thanks, and let's go enjoy the coffee, right?